75 now, and I can't remember anybody except the Queen being there.
The feeling that we got when they came out with the baby, we couldn't miss it again. We couldn't miss this one.
Queen Camilla.
Camilla, the Queen. The moment that Queen Camilla laughed at Princess Charlotte's attire produced a reaction that left everyone surprised, and it was the moment that everyone was stunned. During the early hours of the morning at Windsor, Princess Charlotte was seen standing in front of the big mirror that was located in her bedroom at the Adelaide house. She had been invited to attend a moderate afternoon tea at Clarence House. Her grandmother, Queen Camilla, would be present, along with a few friends of the family and some guests from Camilla's humanitarian activities. Although it was not an official royal engagement, her grandmother would really be there. A clothing that Charlotte's mother had assisted her in selecting was being displayed by Charlotte. In addition to having a little bow at the waist, it was made of a gentle blue cotton that was adorned with white flowers. In Catherine's opinion, it was an excellent choice for the activity. It is uncomplicated but beautiful. Charlotte, who had been learning to make little decisions about her clothes, such as the way the skirt slid when she turned, recalled Lottie Catherine saying, "This is not like a school play date." Lottie Catherine was leaning against the door frame at the time. "It is important to keep your shoulders back because there will be photographers outside." With a smile, Charlotte nodded her head. Despite the fact that she was only 10 years old, she already knew how to enter a room without appearing timid. The fact that she was referred to be the head of her siblings was something that she did not mind. It was enjoyable for her to make pics. The car carrying Charlotte and her family arrived at Clarence House in the early afternoon. The huge structure, which featured walls of a cream color and shutters of a deep green color, appeared to be even larger than Charlotte had remembered it to be. Her clothing was fluttering slightly in the warm breeze as she went out of the building while clinging onto her mother's hand. Queen Camilla was standing just inside the entry hall. Her reading glasses were perched on the crown of her head, and she was dressed in a cream linen dress that included a string of pearls across the neckline. Her lips formed a smile as soon as she saw Charlotte, but then she let out a tiny laugh. Charlotte was the first person she noticed. "Oh, Charlotte, how I miss you." Charlotte was stunned for a fraction of a second when Camilla said, "You look like a little spring garden walking in." Camilla continued to smile, even though the tone was light. The laughter caused her to feel uncertain. It was a compliment, or was it a lighthearted teasing? Having people laugh at her attire was something she was not used to. She recalled the consideration that she and her mother had given to the decision-making process. As soon as Camilla became aware of the hints of uncertainty, she stretched out and grabbed Charlotte's hands. Wonderful, adorable, and incredibly energizing. Simply said, "I was thinking that you might start giving flowers to each and every person." She continued by saying, Charlotte gave a polite smile, remembering her mother's advice about always being gracious, but on the inside, she felt a tiny pang of humiliation. She added with a chuckle. She cast a quick glance down at her mother, who smiled sweetly but did not utter a single word. This was the life of a king. Many times you were unsure of what others were actually trying to convey. Camilla was able to move easily from group to group, speaking with her usual warm tone, and she had a way of making each person feel like they were the most important person in the room. The guests quickly gathered in the drawing room, which was a space filled with soft armchairs, tall windows, and a few tables lined with delicate sandwiches and scones. Charlotte saw her from the corner, and she was struck by the self-assurance with which she carried herself around. Camilla eventually signaled to Charlotte, "Come, my dear." After some time had passed, "Please allow me to introduce you to Mrs. Woodhouse, who works for the National Literacy Trust. She is a huge fan of child readers." Charlotte took a step forward while cautiously holding her teacup. She had been reading more recently for the encouragement of her mother, and she was aware that Camilla also had a passion for reading. There were numerous occasions when the Queen Consort discussed her reading activities, and she had even launched her very own online book club. "It has been brought to my attention that you, Mrs. Woodhouse, are quite the reader yourself. This is Princess Charlotte. Do you have a special preference?" The response that Charlotte gave was courteous, and she related a story that she had just finished reading at school. Camilla listened with a smirk on her face, but she occasionally looked back at Charlotte's dress as if she was delighted by it even after she had finished speaking. This gentle attentiveness helped Charlotte remain conscious of who she was. As Charlotte stood back to allow others to speak, the conversation began to wander off in a different direction. She then sought a place near the window and took in the view of the garden that was outside. A group of children were having fun on the grass. Children were present, and they were seen giggling and running about among the rose bushes. Charlotte realized that she would not be able to join them until the fall, despite her desire to do so. When the gathering started to wind down, the normal tea had already been consumed. She was contacted once more by Camilla. At this point, she was presented with a tiny plate that had a slice of sponge cake for you to enjoy. "You have shown a great deal of patience today," she said. Charlotte accepted it and expressed her gratitude to her. Camilla watched her for a brief period of time. "You know, when I was your age, I detested being forced to remain seated at gatherings such as this one. I desired to be near the horses while they were outside. I am aware that you enjoy riding, indeed." A tiny bit of a smile appeared on Charlotte's face as she said, "I like riding and I like tennis too good." Despite the fact that Camilla's statements were spoken in a light-hearted manner, Charlotte experienced an additional twist in her stomach. Camilla responded by saying, "Make sure you always make time for the things you love, even if your dress is too pretty to run in." She was curious as to whether Camilla felt her dress was ridiculous. When it was finally time to leave, Charlotte walked out with her mother as they hopped into the car. Catherine bent down and said, "You did well, Lottie. You were polite and you handled yourself beautifully." Although things had felt ideal at home, she was now uncertain about when it was finally time to leave. Even though she didn't say anything, Charlotte gave a slight nod. The sound of Camilla's laughing kept repeating over and over in her thoughts. It was not cruel, but it had left an impression, and as they drove away from Clarence's house, Charlotte found herself wondering if she would ever feel the same way about that blue garment again once more. She had no idea that this seemingly insignificant moment was about to develop into something much more significant. An uncharacteristically quiet Charlotte sat between Prince George and Prince Louis in the breakfast room of Adelaide Villa the following morning. While Prince George was flipping through a football magazine, Prince Louis was concentrating on a bowl of cereal. Charlotte was looking at her plate during the conversation. Catherine saw right away, and although she was still thinking about the previous day, she asked in a low voice. Charlotte paused for a moment before nodding. "Granny Camilla made a remark concerning my attire. She did not intend to hurt anyone." She responded, "Catherine, well, despite the fact that she was teasing in her own unique manner, I am aware that it can be quite strange when someone makes a comment like that before Charlotte has a chance to respond." George raised his head. Obviously, if the Queen makes a statement, people will take notice of it. When it comes to the way things turn out on the internet, George's statements turned out to be accurate much sooner than anyone anticipated. By the middle of the day, Catherine's phone rang with a message from her private secretary. In the background, a royal blogger had posted a brief video clip from the tea gathering. Camilla's laughter could be heard as she greeted Charlotte. The description of the image read, "Queen Camilla laughs at Princess Charlotte's floral dress, which appears to be either harmless fun or a bit inappropriate." In a matter of hours, it was taking over various social media platforms. Royal discomfort at Clarence's house read one another reported that Camilla's comment leaves little princess uncomfortable. Headlines appeared on entertainment websites, turning the incident into something more significant than it actually was. In the kitchen, Charlotte was able to spy on her parents as they discussed the matter. While William sounded cool, he was firm. Despite the fact that it is not a significant matter, more and more people will begin contributing their own interpretations of the events with each passing day. We do not want her to be bothered. Catherine cast her gaze toward the corridor, conscious of the possibility that Charlotte was listening. Her age is only 10. In spite of the fact that she does not have to shoulder that burden, Charlotte was well aware that she had witnessed the reactions of her classmates when things became popular on the internet, and she was not looking forward to any taunting at school. She was able to recall how Camilla's gaze had been drawn to her clothes on multiple occasions, as well as how the small jokes had seemingly never stopped coming. The information was now available for everyone to evaluate. After Charlotte had returned to her room that afternoon, she opened the closet and peered at the blue dress that was still hanging perfectly. She saw that the dress did not appear to be as good as it had before. Upon recalling Camilla's words, she experienced a range of emotions, including uncertainty and hurt. The door was rapped on by someone. William was the one. The moment he entered the room, he sat down on the edge of her bed. "I have heard that today is challenging for you." "I didn't do anything wrong." Charlotte shrugged and left the room. "It is not true." William was in agreement that there are occasions when people make remarks that they believe are humorous, but they end up having a different impact. This occurs even within extended families. After a little interval, he flashed a shy smile. Camilla is known for her unique manner of speech. There are times when she is unaware of how it can come across. If there is something that troubles you, you may always tell us about it. I am aware that she cares about you. When Charlotte felt a little better, she nodded her head. She was not an angry person, but she did not like to be ridiculed in front of other people. While all was going on, Camilla was reading through her daily bread at Clarence's house. In the process of briefing her assistant, Sarah refrained from discussing the increasing amount of online talk. There is some discussion with regard to the fashion criticism that was made yesterday, ma'am. A number of bloggers are referring to it as embarrassing. It was Camilla's frown. The remark was completely innocuous. It is true that she appeared to be charming, but the video clip gives a different impression. The response came from Sarah. Camilla felt a sigh. She was no stranger to the storms of the media. When she was younger, the public had a far more negative attitude toward her. Even though this was somewhat little in comparison, she did not like the concept of Charlotte being in an unpleasant situation. She suggested that I might want to give Catherine a call. At long last, after the evening had passed, Catherine received the call and answered it. She spoke in a manner that was courteous but authoritative. Charlotte is doing well, although she is conscious of the public's attention. According to Camilla, I meant it as a compliment, and she looked absolutely stunning. It was never my intention for her to experience any kind of embarrassment, despite the fact that I am aware of Catherine's response. You seem to comprehend how these things snowball. Camilla did comprehend. She had been the subject of criticism from the media for several decades. Nevertheless, she had not anticipated that something as insignificant as a floral dress would become a topic of conversation. The following day, Charlotte went back to school on her own. As she entered the gates, a few of her classmates murmured something to each other. One of the girls laughed and remarked, "That is a very nice garden dress," before rushing off. Despite her best efforts, Charlotte continued to walk around the classroom. She made an effort to concentrate, but her thoughts kept wandering. She had the impression that everyone had watched the video. Especially when she was in front of other people, she pondered whether Camilla was aware of the significance of the words she spoke. When Catherine returned to Windsor that afternoon, she discovered Charlotte drawing in her notebook by herself. "This is what you are drawing?" She inquired about it. Charlotte carefully turned the page to reveal a photo of a girl wearing a different outfit. The garment was simple and did not have any flowers associated with it. "Perhaps the next time I wear something that nobody can laugh at," she whispered. Catherine sat next to her. "Or perhaps the next time you wear whatever makes you happy. And if somebody laughs at you, you should keep in mind that it says more about them than it does about you." Although Charlotte was confused whether or not to trust it, she realized that the narrative was not yet ended. Charlotte stared at her mother. The next gathering of the family was going to take place very soon, and she couldn't stay away from Camilla forever. While she was thinking about it, a question began to arise in her head. What would take place the next time they got together? 2 weeks later, the family calendar was updated with another event that was highlighted in bold. This was in response to the fact that everyone seemed to have an opinion on her dress. Buckingham Palace played host to a charity garden party, which was hosted by King Charles and Queen Camilla. Several senior members of the royal family were present at the event. It was explained to Charlotte that she would be assisting in the distribution of little bookmarks to children from nearby schools who had been invited to attend the event, which was held in favor of literacy and children's education, two causes that are very important to Camilla's heart. The intention was for it to be easygoing and upbeat. When it came to public events, William and Catherine believed that it would be beneficial for her to once again see the positive side of things. Catherine knocked on Charlotte's door the morning of the party. "Come and see this," she said, holding up a gentle lilac dress with a modes
lace collar. The dress was simple and charming, and it was designed so that you could run in it if you needed to. With a moment of hesitation, Charlotte said, "I don't want anyone to laugh this time." "No, they won't." Catherine gave her reassurance, "and if they do go through with it, you will know how to deal with it." When they got at the palace, the lawns were already bustling with guests. The building was absolutely packed. A variety of sweets, including fruit tarts, sandwiches, and cakes, were placed on the tables. In preparation for brief remarks, a modest stage had been prepared. As they made their way through the crowd, members of the royal family greeted guests and shook their hands. Charlotte spotted Camilla across the lawn, where she was participating in an impassioned conversation with a group of authors and educators. The queen consort was polished in a coat dress of a pastel green color and a hat that matched. After taking a few long breaths, Charlotte reminded herself that she was there to fulfill a job that required her to hand out bookmarks and engage in conversation with the youngsters. She came over to Charlotte with a gleaming smile on her face when Camilla finally spotted her. "Greetings, this is our young assistant. It is extremely good to see you today." In spite of the fact that the comment was quick and friendly, Charlotte felt a little more relaxed. It was together that they started their round, meeting different groups of children. Charlotte was introduced to each of them by Camilla, who frequently mentioned that she is a reader like Charlotte herself. Charlotte provided responses to inquiries, distributed bookmarks, and even posed for a few photographs on the occasion. Until they approached a tiny table, everything was going according to plan. There, a photographer from a well-known tabloid was waiting for Camilla and Charlotte to stop for a picture. "There are no flowers for you today, Princess I," the photographer joked. Camilla had a slight chuckle in response to the statement, saying, "No, not flowers. We've decided to go with lace instead, haven't we?" Charlotte, the words were not harmful. Nonetheless, the sound of her laughter once more, this time in front of cameras, caused Charlotte's stomach to clench up. Even though she managed to smile politely for the photograph, her mind was already racing since within an hour the first photographs were uploaded to the internet. In one of the headlines, it was written that Camilla made another remark about Charlotte's clothing at a public function. Although the tone was not as severe as it had been the previous time, the comparisons to the Clarence House tea started right away. During a period of relative calm, William noticed it on his phone. He then proceeded to stroll over to the location where Charlotte was presenting a bookmark to a small child. "You are doing an excellent job. You should ignore the noise," he told her, but it was far simpler to say than it was to actually do. After a few minutes had passed, Charlotte overheard two women who were perched close to the refreshment table discussing the event with the dress. She desired to vanish behind the hedge that was closest to her head. While all was going on, Camilla appeared to be unconscious of the rumors. While she was moving from group to group, she encouraged children to visit libraries and talked about the Queen's Reading Room project. When she was chatting enthusiastically about books and reading habits, she was definitely in her element. At some point in time, Camilla and Charlotte found themselves standing next to one another once more. "Today has been a really successful day for you." When Camilla put her hand on Charlotte's shoulder and remarked, "I think the children liked you," Charlotte gave a slight nod but did not look Camilla in the eyes. Camilla took note and cocked her head to the side. Charlotte quietly revealed that she was still concerned about what other people said, and Camilla's demeanor became significantly more gentle. "Throughout the years, people have been saying things about me, some of which have been friendly, while others have not been. You can't allow it prevent you from turning up. Stop it." Taking a look at her, Charlotte was uncertain as to whether or not this was advice or simply something that adults said to make you feel better. As she reflected on the moment when she had heard Camilla laugh at her dress for the first time, she reflected on how quickly the world had made it into a story. Guests hurried behind white tents as the day progressed, and the event's speed slowed down as a result. A light drizzle began to fall as the afternoon progressed. While Charlotte was standing close to the edge of the lawn, she observed Camilla chatting with the remaining few guests. She was struck by how relaxed Camilla appeared to be, despite the fact that the cameras were still clicking. However, as they were getting ready to depart, a reporter approached them and said, "Princess Charlotte, will you be bringing back the flower dress for the summer?" Although the question was intended to be provocative, it sliced through the drizzle like a chilly wind. Before Charlotte could respond, she remained motionless for a brief period. Camilla moved forward in the line. She added with a confident smile that she possessed a large number of exquisite clothes, and she moved Charlotte in a kind manner toward the palace. The steps. The voice of the reporter was lost in the commotion as the royals disappeared inside. Charlotte remained silent as they walked along a corridor that was hung with images of previous kings. While they were in the car on their trip back to Windsor, she glanced out the window. She pondered the possibility that something as insignificant as a dress might keep resurfacing over and over again. When she went to the next occasion, what would happen if she dressed something that was daring? Is it possible that she will finally take charge of the situation, or will it be another round of whispers? As soon as they arrived at Adelaide Cottage, George and Louis went upstairs, leaving the mother and daughter alone in the kitchen. Catherine placed 2 cups on the table and slid one of them toward Charlotte. She replied to you in a soft voice. You did very well today. You maintained your composure even when someone tried to be cheeky. In spite of the fact that Charlotte ran her finger along the edge of the table, the clothing is still very important. There are times when a narrative stays with me for a longer period of time than it should. Every time I know Catherine, I am sitting opposite her. The greatest approach to get over it is to demonstrate to other people that it is no longer something that bothers you. Charlotte did not actually read the book that she was paging through that evening. She remained in her room and did so. When she thought about the way people stared at her when the topic was brought up, it made her feel insignificant, as if she were a part of a joke that she did not comprehend. She was sitting by the window reading the following morning when she received a little envelope that was addressed to her in neat handwriting. There was a little message inside that stated, "My dear Charlotte, I have been thinking about the 2 events that we have completed together. I am sorry if the words I have spoken have caused you to feel uneasy. Honestly, I thought you had a stunning appearance. Soon let's meet together for a cup of tea. It is possible for us to discuss books and even discuss the possibility of organizing our very own reading session with love, Camilla. Charlotte, who has read it twice. To communicate something so personal was not typical of Camilla. It was strange to think about taking notes and having a calm cuppa without cameras at your side. After a week had passed, she was shown into one of the more intimate sitting rooms at Clarence's house. She was uncertain as to whether it was an apology or only a gesture, but she made the courageous decision to accept. Camilla stood up to meet her with a warm smile, and the room was warm and inviting. There was a pot of tea heating on a little table next to a dish of biscuits. As she pointed to a tiny stack of novels, she stated, "I was thinking that we might start our very own little book swap." In response, Charlotte grinned. It was a worn copy of her most recent school story that she had carted about with her. In response, Camilla presented her with a book that was wonderfully painted and told the story of a girl and her horse. The corners of the book were bent from reading. "It was when I was roughly your age that I read this." Her explanation was that it inspired me to spend more time in the great outdoors. While they were conversing about their favorite characters and authors, Camilla asked questions, listened attentively, and even scribbled down the name of another book that Charlotte mentioned. These activities took place while they were drinking tea and nibbling on biscuits. Camilla showed her appreciation by leaning back and remarking, "You are developing into a very self-assured young lady. It is important that you do not allow insignificant things or comments to detract from that." As Charlotte left Clarence's house that afternoon, she experienced a sense of relief. Although she still recalled the awkward situations that occurred in front of the cameras, she now had something else to cling to. She had the peaceful tea, the book swap, and the feeling that perhaps her relationship with Camilla could be different. Each time she saw the blue floral dress, the recollection of the first awkward question that she had asked came back to her. However, the memory of Camilla's note and their talk also returned to her. The dress remained in her wardrobe for weeks without being worn. Charlotte noted other things as well, such as the manner in which her mother handled unpleasant situations in public without allowing them to linger, and the manner in which her father deflected queries with comedy. Gradually, the garment became less of a sign of humiliation and more of a reminder that things may change during this time. It was almost as if the dress incident had opened her eyes to the abilities that kept the family stable in the sight of the public. In the month that followed, when Charlotte had another public engagement, she stunned everyone by selecting the identical blue dress that she had previously worn. Catherine was aware of it, but she did not mention anything. Instead, she simply gave her a slight nod of agreement. George arched an eyebrow, but then grinned immediately, and Louis only asked if he may wear his favorite jumper. George smiled for a moment. Camilla, who was standing nearby, caught sight of Charlotte and smiled warmly as she saw her. At the same time, cameras flashed and voices yelled her name. "This is without a doubt my favorite dress." This time, her voice carried just enough for those who were in close proximity to hear what she had to say. Charlotte strode straight into the group of schoolchildren who were waiting to greet her, her shoulders back and her grin bright, feeling completely in control of the situation. There was no laughter and there was no awkward follow-up. Instead, the group of youngsters clapped and waved towards her. Later on, while they were on their way back home, Catherine politely said, "So, how did it feel?" Charlotte paused for a few minutes before responding as if it were nothing more than a dress once more. She stated that when she returned the outfit to her wardrobe that evening, she did so with great care. It was the same clothing, but she had altered some of the teachings she had learned since she knew that they did not come from books or classrooms. When Charlotte went to bed that night, she felt older in some way, even though she couldn't say exactly why. She had learned that you couldn't control what people said or remembered, but you could choose how you carried it, and that choice made all the difference. They came through moments that you didn't expect, such as a conversation over tea, a kind word given in public, and the decision to confront something head on. Regarding Charlotte's behavior, what are your thoughts on how she conducted herself? Are you of the opinion that this will alter the way that she is perceived at upcoming royal events? In the comments section below, please share your ideas. We would be thrilled to listen to them. Don't forget to give it a like, share it, and subscribe for more. Additionally, click on the video that should be displayed on your screen. You are going to take pleasure in it. It is you.